basically what I talk to my gifted students about, because they have to do science fair. They don't have to compete, but they do have to do science fair, and we try to encourage them to do science fair at the local competition by actually exempting them from their chem final in June. So it's a really good hook. It means that, you know, if you do all your work ahead of time and by the middle of March, you are done and you don't have to worry about your chem final. And we talk about this, and we talk about this, that power pose, or putting your shoulders back, putting your hands on your hip. You know, and the good point that she makes is, you know, basically not talking yourself into failing, but talking yourself into doing a great job. And take notice, she didn't tell you to do that in the interview. That's something, take 2 minutes, go to the bathroom. I always tell my students, if you really get stressed about tests, ask your teacher, or talk to your teacher ahead of time. Ask your teacher if you can go back and get a drink, if you can go back and go to the bathroom before the test. It gives you just time to get yourself more centered, okay, and more focused on what you need to do. Professional dress. Okay, we're going to take a look at an activity here momentarily. But one of the things that we talked about last week when I was talking about different things with Ms. Bright, with Ms. Bennett, the fact that good shoes, believe it or not, oftentimes when people go to present themselves, they'll be dressed very nice, and then you look down and their shoes are old or their shoes are scuffed. Okay? So it's something that you also want to make sure that you focus on having good shoes. Now, did I say go spend a lot of money? No. Okay, I did not. I am the person who would stress find a good consignment shop, okay, or use Poshmark, or use Letgo, something where you can get really good shoes and you don't have to pay $200, $300 for a pair of shoes, which I still think is ridiculous.
Can I add on to that? The shoe thing, that made me laugh. I just went through the whole interviewing for jobs in Pennsylvania. And I had a panic attack one time because I was getting my suit that I wear twice a year, and I was trying to find my nice shoes to wear for my suit, and I couldn't find them. They was in my shoebox that I kept them in because I was thinking I need to store these, keep these nice. I couldn't find my shoes, so I had to find like a second-rate shoe that I wear normally for teaching, and they're scuffed up. They're my everyday. So I wore them, and I couldn't get my mind off of my shoes. It was bothering. The shoe thing is a big deal. I've been at job fairs and interviews where I look at people's shoes, and it's because they stick out. If you're wearing really bad shoes, they stick out to people. And that's not something I've ever thought about before.
Yeah. I was actually very fortunate. My undergrad is through Ursinus College, down in Collegeville outside Philadelphia. And at Ursinus, when you're a senior, they will not let you graduate until you go through some career workshops. And one of the things that they made us go in for 2 hours was on professional dress. And we did this whole thing on professional dress. And they really stressed the idea of shoes because they said, you would not believe how many people come in and they look really good for the interview. And if you're down to 2 or 3 people, you look at their shoes, and the person with the best shoes, everything else equal, will get the job. Which I think is really, kind of funky if you think about it, that shoes can make that much of a difference. Or they're the people who get to entrance into the college they want because they're the whole package. They haven't stopped, at their knee and forgotten about part of it. This is for ladies and gentlemen, typically. Minimal makeup. You do not want your lipstick jumping off your face or coming into the room before you. And ladies, are you sitting here kind of smiling, know what I mean? If you look at someone who they have this bright red or bright pink lipstick, and it's like you can't look at anything but their lips, it's probably not going to go well. Nail polish should be natural or clear. Or it could be the French manicure. My daughter just went for an interview 2 weeks ago. She is currently an ER nurse. She was interviewing for a position to go to a cancer center to work on providing chemo for patients. And she went and had a French manicure because one of the things that they discussed also at her school was how to dress for interviews and how to be successful. She actually had good clothing, but did not have a suit So the day before her interview, she decided that she wanted a suit because she needed to look more polished if she was going up against older people, because she's only 21. So she went in with a suit and ended up being successful with getting the job that she wanted. Oh, go ahead. French manicure is where it's like a real light, it looks just like your nail. It's a real light pink, and then at the very tip, it's like a white or an off-white.
Yeah, it's very minimalist. It almost looks like you don't really have anything on your nails. And that's kind of the point, is that, you know, we just want to make the point, like, no neon colors or bright pink, right? Because that's not really professional.
Or black.
Or black. Yeah.
Or black. Tattoos should be covered, not obvious. That's something to keep in mind. If tattoos are something that's very, very personal, and I'm certainly not going to tell you get one, don't get one. Okay, that's entirely up to you, and it's your body. However, understand that when you go into an interview, if you've got a tattoo that wraps up around the side of your face and on your neck, that's not something you can cover up. Okay, and there's going to be some jobs you will not be allowed to do because of that. I don't know, I was just talking to somebody the other week who was telling me that if you have a tattoo below your sleeve, where your regular natural sleeve would fall, you cannot be a state trooper. Now, I want to ask Trooper Western that tomorrow, because I know that used to be the case. They can't have any visible tattoos showing at all. If you're a city policeman, you can have tattoos. So it all depends on what job you're looking for.
I was at this one restaurant at the beach, and they had like 2 arm sleeves, and it's like an inch above.
Oh, okay, yes. So depending on, again, depending on, and that's, we didn't put it in here, but I'd say think of that with piercings also, okay? Because if you've got gauges that are, you know, and your earlobe is down to where my earring ends, you can't hide that either. And there's going to be jobs that, you know, you can be the best qualified for that job, depending on who's interviewing you, depending on the job. You're not going to get that job.
Yeah, and best rule of thumb too, especially girls, is just first and second holes. Very minimal, like pearl, diamond, whatever, no big hoops or anything for a job interview. Right. I actually just went for a job interview a few weeks ago, and like I have extra piercings on my ears, nothing crazy like gauges, but I took them out just in case, because when you're talking to professional people, you know, you never know how they're going to react, and so it's just best to play it safe with that.
And we mentioned this now, not because you're going for a job interview, but when you're out on a school trip, when you're out at a science competition, you're representing your school. And you want to look the best. And you also don't want somebody to ignore you or not pay attention to your work just because of how you're dressed or what you look like. Because we had a case at Readingbrook Science Fair last year where there was a girl, and honestly, I couldn't even tell you what her research was, because she was dressed so inappropriately that the judges, I think, asked her one question and moved on, because she was in a very short, very tight, very low-cut dress and high heels, and to the point of where I think almost every other student and most of the teachers in the place kind of looked at her like, does she know she came to a science fair? Just because it was so obviously inappropriate. And I felt bad for her, because I don't know that her teachers ever took the time to tell her what good dress was or what was expected. And perfume or cologne, very minimal. Again, you don't want somebody, like if I'm from here to Caroline, I shouldn't be able to smell Caroline's perfume from over here. Okay, and those of you who are laughing, I mean, we know, like in middle school, sometimes people think that more is more. No, less is more. You know, if you use like 5 sprays, it's way more than you need, way more. And obviously using deodorant, because when you get stressed about something, you're going to sweat, and the last thing you want to do is to smell when someone's trying to interview you for whatever reason. Okay, so professional dress activity, real quick. You know what? I was going to have you guys, and I'm going to have you do this. We need 5 groups. We're going to take 5 minutes, because we're going to make this real quick. Okay? So, 5 groups. As soon as you have your group, come on over and grab an envelope.
Yes, I'll be your group.
Real quick, you got 5 minutes, guys. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, great. Have a seat, please. Now, next up, phone etiquette. And this is something when you get to 9th grade, and if you take ag, you'll hear from Seifert and Sirfas. Okay? A picture paints 1,000 words, but a caller on the other end of the phone can only hear you at this point. Do I think we're going to get to the point where they're going to be able to see you? Oh yeah, but we're not there yet. For everything. They cannot see your face or body language, therefore taking the time to speak clearly, slowly, in a cheerful, professional voice is very important. And the slowly part, as we were doing this, I said, that's one of the things that for many people you struggle with. Those people who've had me in class know I struggle with this, because sometimes I tend to talk very fast and have to force myself to slow down. And in my case, it's usually just because I have so much stuff that I want to get done that I'm trying to cram stuff in, and it's not a case of where I'm trying to rush for any other reason. So just forcing yourself to slow down. Speak in your normal voice. It drives me crazy. I used to have a colleague who every time they'd come, "Hi, how are you?" and their pitch of their voice just went up, and they would talk like a little girl. And I would sit there in their room looking at them when they're on the phone, making faces, and I'm like, "Really?" And she said, "I do it, but I don't realize I'm doing it until like you're making faces at me." And she did it. And I said, "Practice at home, something. But you've got to get over that kind of thing." Always identify yourself at the beginning of all calls. "Hello, good morning." Example, accounting department, Cindy Syed speaking. Okay? Or always state your name along with the name of the person you are calling. Might I just tell you, do not practice when the phone is ringing, because you never know when they're going to pick up. Okay, if it's an important phone call, do not be practicing while the phone is ringing, because they might actually say hello, and they'll hear you say, "Well, I said," as you're practicing. So make sure you practice ahead of time. Okay? Be sensitive to the tone of your voice. Again, normal voice. And you don't want to come across as being obnoxious or pushy or overly aggressive. And it also ties back to what Amy Petty said. Don't lean back in your chair when speaking on the phone. Sit upright, so don't be really relaxed. And we're not talking about when you're talking to your friends. We're talking about when you're making contacts for your research, when you're making contacts for the college that you decide you want to attend. Okay, so be very sensitive to the tone of your voice. Think through what you plan to say and discuss before you place the call. Don't waste their time. Everyone's time is valuable. You do not want to be like, nothing drives me more crazy than if you're talking to somebody on the phone and it takes them 5 to 10 minutes to get around to whatever they're trying to say. Be very specific. Think about what you're saying to them before you actually pick up the phone to make the phone call. Do not allow interruptions to occur during conversations. You shouldn't be having a conversation with somebody else if you're making an important phone call. You want to make sure you're focused on the person you're talking to on the phone. If you do have to interrupt, there are times, not your fault at all, you might actually need to interrupt and say, "I'm so sorry, could you please excuse me for a moment, I will be right back," or "I must deal with something, I'll be right back," and make it as quick as possible. Especially when leaving messages, speak clearly and slowly. Okay? Do not use be specific. Do not use any kind of slang or phrases that the person may not have any idea what you're talking about. Again, practice leaving your number. Saying it out loud to yourself as slow as you've heard an informational operator say. It seems dumb, like when you give in your phone number, and I know I'm bad at this, so if I'm dealing with an insurance company or I'm dealing with someone, a doctor's office, when I call and give them a number, you have to force yourself to be very, very slow so it's clear for them when they get the message. Always turn off your cell phone ringer or put it on completely silent before entering a meeting, restaurant, theater, training class, wherever. And I actually thought about, I was going to text my husband and have him call during this presentation just to show you how annoying it is when somebody's phone goes off. And I decided against it. I just thought, Hopefully my phone won't ring. But it should be on silent. Again, not just vibrate. Okay, and I know for some of you, if you're like my daughter, I don't think I've heard her cell phone ring probably in 3 years. She always has it on silent. Now the flip side of that is, does she answer it half the time? No. So if you are expecting a call back from somebody, turn your ringer on if you're not in a meeting or you're not doing or in class. But if it's something where you're meeting with somebody or you're talking to someone about your research, or today, for example, Mr. Fish is here. If you're talking to him, your cell phone shouldn't be going off if you're explaining to him what your research is and what you want to do, or what you being able to be here for the program means to you, because their money allowed us to extend it down to 6th grade and above this year. Gwen?
Okay, so funny story. Not really that funny, kind of. Yesterday when we were in Hershey, my phone was on vibrate, and actually vibrate can be very loud sometimes. So I guess I got a notification my data was back on because it's a dead zone in some parts there, and all of a sudden in the middle of the meeting when the guy was talking to us, thankfully nobody could hear it except for me, but it was zzz, zzz, zzz. So just like keep that in mind too. Know how loud your vibrate is too.
Well, this isn't up there, but the other thing to keep in mind is it appropriate to be on your phone? We could not believe at International Science Fair, Megan's sister Maddie was there, and she was appalled. The person in the booth next to her, this is International Science Fair, this person had flown in from another country. She was on her cell phone when the judge was there to ask her about her research, to the point of where the judge was just standing there quietly waiting for her to finish, and she just kept talking and talking and talking on her cell phone. If you are at a competition or you're presenting your research or anything like that, you need to focus on what it is that you're doing, not to be on your phone. Okay, and I know you guys are used to, like me, I can walk away from my phone and I have to figure out where it is. You guys are used to having phone in hand or phone on body at all times, and I get that. But there's also times when it's not appropriate to have your phone out. Okay. Also, speak into the telephone receiver with an even and low tone of voice. Again, tone of voice. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm out to eat dinner, the only person in my mind that needs to be on their phone when I'm out to eat dinner in a restaurant is a cardiothoracic surgeon or a neurosurgeon who has a patient who is in critical care unit who needs their expertise that second. Other than that, I don't care who you are. If you need to be on your phone, get up and excuse yourself and walk out. Those are the only people I can honestly tell you, because I've already sat, we were at Galen Hall one night for dinner, a nice restaurant, this is years ago, where there was this gentleman at the table next to us talking this loudly that you can hear his whole conversation, to the point where I looked at my husband, I know his wife heard me because she looked at me and just shook her head, and I said, unless he is a cardiac surgeon, there is no reason he cannot take that phone call outside, and he does not need to be talking right now. And his wife's going, and you could tell she was about ready to beat him, I think, with something, because she was not happy at all. And like half the people in the restaurant are glaring at this guy, and he just had no idea. So again, consider your environment if you're on the phone. Do not allow yourself to be distracted by other activities while speaking on the phone. And I know for you guys, you're not there yet, but when you get to the point where you're driving, please keep in mind, if you are driving, you should be driving. You should not be on the phone. You should not be texting. Okay? You should be driving. And if it's something you absolutely have to talk or deal with when you're driving, pull over, or they recommend using a headset if you have to, or a speakerphone. I can tell you Delaware is a hands-free state, and you don't get warnings. If you get pulled over for being on your cell phone, you get fined right away. And that's a good thing, because there are signs all over letting you know that they do not want you on your phone when you're driving. You should be focused on your driving. Email etiquette. I put this in here because you guys in your research are probably going to have a lot more contact with people via email. And when you email people, you want to make sure that you think about it and you proof it before you send it. So keep in mind, you might be tempted to just a 2-word reply, boom, it's done, okay? But you want to think about and always proof and think about the fact that it represents you. This person, you may never meet them. They might be working in California, they might be working in India, they might be working in a lab in Shanghai. But if they're helping you with your research, take the time to make sure you're doing the best you can to present yourself through your email.
This is also going to be really important in college when you email your professors. Huge, huge impact on how they view you as a professional, as a student. And I can tell you that we had seminars at orientation freshman year on how to write emails because they had so many bad experiences with students writing emails in the past. Like, hey, yo, what's up? To a professor, literally. So don't do that. Like, make it professional and take your time to read through it. Make sure that it's good.
Yep, and you want to briefly introduce yourself. You want to respond in a timely fashion. We have a young lady in the high school right now who's actually part of this program, who we constantly harass about responding to emails in a timely manner. She is notorious already for not getting back to people in a good time. Honestly, my rule of thumb is within 24 hours if possible. And if not possible, if I've been homesick and someone's emailed me, I've already emailed, I'm sorry, I'm homesick today. Tomorrow morning when I am back, I will gladly, check what you need and get back to you. Okay, so just making sure that you're responding in a timely fashion. Hesitate using exclamation points. Some people say don't use them at all. Some people say you can use one. It's up to you. Refrain from one-liners. Thanks. Okay. Feel free to put no reply necessary at the top of the email if you don't want somebody to get back to you. Avoid using shortcuts. This drives me crazy when I get emails. Like the for you or the GR8. When I see that in email that I get coming to school professionally, it's like, really? Or misspelling things. Using the wrong hour, the wrong there in an email. And that's just basic grammar, okay? And again, it's going to affect how people view you. Keep it clean, okay? And clean meaning, not that you're telling a dirty joke, clean meaning you don't want all kind of extra garbage on the email. You want to keep it as concise, clear as possible. Be clear in your subject line. Make sure you state what the email is about. Because honestly, if you get somebody who gets 200 emails a day, if I see something I don't recognize from somebody, and it doesn't tell me anything in the subject line that I think I need to know, I may not even read it if I don't recognize the person. So make sure that you're very focused. Especially if you're contacting scientists, you want to tell them why you're contacting them. Okay, don't get mistaken for spam. So again, all caps, all lowercase, things like that. And subject lines tend to get you kicked out. Your subject line must match the message. You shouldn't be just responding to an old one on some new subject. Or if you are, change the subject there and get rid of all the old stuff. Send or copy others on a need-to-know basis. I love when people do this. They hit reply all. And when you already get a bunch of emails, like a day, typically as a teacher, you get, I'd say, between 100 and 150 emails a day. And it's ridiculous. So when people hit reply all, and you get parts of a conversation it doesn't affect you at all, it drives me crazy. Pick up the phone. There's times it's just easier to pick up the phone and talk to the person and get your answer. Okay? Keep it short, get to the point. Do not write a 2-page email. Tell the person what you need to tell them. I had a professor in grad school who used to say, tell them what you need to tell them and be done. And when we write papers for her, she said, okay, I know you're told, introduction, you should tell them what you want to tell me, then you tell me, and then you tell me what you told me. She said, I'm fine with that, but keep it short. She said, because the longer you ramble on and put useless ideas in there, the more your grade will go down. Okay, same thing with emails. Keep it short, keep it to the point. Always include a signature. You want to make sure that you have it set up so that you can automatically click on that and it'll dump your signature in with contact information for you. Keep in mind, your email is a reflection of you. If it's scattered, disorganized, filled with mistakes, that's what they're going to think of that you're like. So you want to make sure that you come across very professionally and you take your time. Again, proofread your emails. And there are my sources. And you'll see I put special thanks to Megan Bright and Julie Bennett because they've been through the interview process more recently than I have. So, and they're also used to dealing with it in a little bit different way. All right. So just keep in mind, whenever you go on anything dealing with school, you are representing not only yourself, but your school, and you want to represent yourself well. That's the whole point